and welcome back, adventurers, once again to another episode of Let's Play Chaos Child. In the last episode, Takuru managed to find some correlations between the two recent murders and the infamous New Generation madness serial killings that took place in 2009. Basically, it seems that someone out there is either continuing the New Generation killings, or the more likely possibility is that they are, well, this is a repeat performance, so to speak, in that they're actually trying to mimic the New Gen crimes of old. Also, a couple of things I like to mention before we dive deep into this particular episode is two things. First of all, apologies for the fact that there is no commentary in the last episode, which is rather unfortunate, but that draws me into the second reason in that I actually had to re-record these particular episodes twice. On account of Bandicam doing its usual thing to me whenever I record a Let's Play. Wouldn't be a Let's Play without technical difficulties, am I right? But that aside, everything should be fine from here on out. And as you will have seen with the last episode, I had to recheck the tips again that came up because, yeah, once you've already gone through a new tip, it doesn't keep it highlighted. It doesn't pop up again. So that's why the last episode was the way that it was. But gonna be honest, Takuru is really onto something here, much to the distress of the Vice President Kurusu.
偶然でしょ。
The dates are too precise for it to be a genuine coincidence. The 7th and the 19th of September, the same dates as the first two New Generation killings. She seemed to be trying to force the words out of her throat. Now, I said this in the previous episode, but not that you hear that because of the missing commentary, but we can rule out the fact that whoever committed the original New Generation killings are continuing where they left off. Because I have it on good faith that the original perpetrators of New Gen are no longer of this world. In other words, someone else is now pulling the strings behind the scenes. Kurusu was acting a little strange. Oh, that's right, Takuru, in his enthusiasm of discovering something so bizarre and macabre, has forgotten that ordinary people have normal feelings, like being completely and understandably distressed when something horrific happens in their neighborhood. Her arms clutched her torso even tighter.
副部長
Maybe it was because of all the creepy pictures you'd seen. Well, points to Takuru for actually noticing that much. Maybe he's not a total loss. Kurusu was clearly shaking, understandably, given her distraught expression. She tried her best to stop it as she spoke. Of course, and there's Kazuki, I think her name is, standing there with her lollipop in her mouth as usual.
何でも関連づけて大きくしたがるのはやめなさい。2つ たまたま一致しただけでしょ。
If that were the case, Kurusu, the local law enforcement authorities will never get to the bottom of these two incidents.
偶然かそうではないかはすぐにわかるよ。ニュージェネ第3の事件が起こったのは9月29日。つまり
Also, just slightly advancing the text there because of the unfortunate lag that always seems to follow me every time I record with Bandicam. But yes, the third New Gen incident, the staking incident, happened on September 29th,
今日だ。
which is the present in this time period. Well, 6 years later, obviously, but the day is the same.
もし今日渋谷でまた妙な事件が起こったらその時は間違いない。偶然が3つ続くなんて放っておける要素じゃないだろう。
Indeed. The first time is happenstance, the second time is coincidence, but if it happens a third time, it is deliberate. And I'm almost certain, as is Takuru, that there will be a third case. The phone rang, and it's set to silent, which is always good, because you never want a ringtone going off in the middle of high school anyway. It was mine.
はい。もしもし。
事件だ。いや、事故？とにかくタクの言う通りのことが起きたかもしれないんだよ。
Serika seems to think that Takuru's hunch is right on the money. Good for Takuru, bad for Kurusu. I could feel my heart starting to race as she spoke. It was a love hotel in area in Donganzaka, 5 minutes from Shibuya Station. Now, again, from the missing commentary from the previous episode, the incidents don't entirely line up 100%. Because if you were paying attention during Takuru's explanation of the comparison between these incidents and the previous ones, you'll notice that while the second incidents line up perfectly, the first two don't. The first incident is more akin to the sixth incident from the original New Generation Madness. But with that said, even with these new generation crimes being done out of order, if this recent incident is a replication of one of the remaining 5 incidents, then we have a serious problem on our hands. A few days ago, there'd been some kind of suspicious fire here, and I come to do some reporting. Well, at least he doesn't cover serial killings or homicides 24/7. This place was supposedly a love hotel spot, but even when at night when business should have been booming, it wasn't particularly exciting. Sorry, my brain keeps jumping ahead while I'm trying to read, and so I get my words muddled around. I apologize. During the day, when all the lights were turned off, if you didn't look at the signs, it wouldn't look very different from your average neighborhood. If you happen to live in Japan, which I don't. But I digress. One of the buildings was a 4-story love hotel with the terrible name Fairy's Dance. Now that is a terrible name. It faced a narrow street. And there was no parking lot, excuse my grammar there. So the police car was parked at a meter nearby.
こっち
And Serika is waiting for us at the scene of the crime. If indeed crime it is. Serika was standing in front of a general store some distance away. She was supposed to be spending the day taking photos of the area around the last two crime scenes.
何があった？
Well, we'll soon find out, won't we, Takuru?
わかんない。さっきゲンさんと107の近くですれ違った時にここで何かが起きたって教えてくれたの。
Hmm. There's that name again. Gen, the homeless informant who has been passing information to Takuru. I wonder if we'll see him later on at
相
some
変わら
point.
ずあの人はよくわかんないな。どこから仕入れてるんだそんな情報。便利だからいいけど。
Hmm. Well, his information has checked out so far. Gen was a homeless man I knew who had sold me all the books of my secret stash. He was a drunk who claimed to be of noble blood, but the stories he told me about his past didn't sound very noble at all. The guy was a weirdo, but since he spent all his time wandering around Shibuya, he knew a surprising amount of info about it.
でも大事なのは間違いないっぽいよ。さっき中に入ってった警察の人が応援呼んでたみたいだし。
I see. I decided to start by taking a video of the outside of the hotel with my smartphone. Of course, for a high school student to do that, it's probably not going to go down well. But he's doing it anyway.
お前、こういう時だけ足早いな。
So basically, Takuru ditched them back at the academy the moment Serika's call came in. I left the two of them in the club room and they'd only just now caught up with me. They must have ran here. Well, points for deduction on that one. Ito especially was breathing very heavily, whereas I'm not breathing at all when I'm trying to speak.
なんだ、クルスも来たのか。
Indeed. Surprise, surprise. Kurusu actually followed Takuru all the way here. Possibly to try and keep him out from any more trouble, which unfortunately for Kurusu is a lost cause. Kazuki had decided not to come, evidently. The adventuring of SO2. I always want to keep calling it Ensu because of the way it was in ChäoS, but I'm getting off topic. The adventuring of SO2 waits for no one, it seems, is what I was trying to say. Of course not. I'd never seen her outside except when we were going to and from school.
で、事件か？
We don't quite have the details from Serika yet. I told Ito what happened from Serika, or what I'd heard from Serika. Why do I keep paraphrasing? Should really stop doing that. He seemed really disappointed.
なんだそりゃ。単に血は喧嘩かなんかで騒ぎになったんじゃねえの？
それだけでわざわざ応援なんて呼ぶか？それに今日は29日なんだぞ。
Yeah, the police activity here is a touch on the suspicious side.
だから気にしすぎだって言ってるでしょ。
Are we? I would love to say so, Kurusu, but there is a little voice in the back of my mind that tells me that that's a luxury we can't afford. Kurusu seemed upset. She glanced at the love hotels around her in disgust. With good reason.
早く学校に戻りましょう。学生がいていい場所じゃない。監視カメラに映っているのが問題になったらどうするの？
Well, if it makes you feel better, Takuru isn't planning to check in at one of the hotels. Yeah, you're right. That doesn't make you feel any better, Kurusu. She probably didn't want to get involved. Which is also true. Ever since the rebuilding, there have been more cameras around Shibuya than ever before, even around the love hotels. Why so many surveillance cameras now of all times? Yet another mystery that needs to be solved. In our school uniforms, we probably stood out, probably being the operative word here. Kurusu motioned for us to go home. And then I saw something in the viewfinder. On the third floor at the Love Hotel. The windows in one of the rooms facing the alley were open. Also just going to check if we actually had a tip that I've already seen at this point. The answer is no. That's good. The windows must have been all the way open because the curtains were fluttering out, and of course he's referring to this window here. Just so you know.
なあ、普通こういうとこって窓開いてないもんだよな。
Well, if you know what a love hotel is supposed to be used for, or supposedly used for, there is a lot of truth to that fact. I asked Ito as I looked up at them. Yeah, all the other windows are shut, except for that one window.
ん？まあそうなんじゃねえの？使ったことなんかねえからわかんねえけど。
Ito followed my gaze and saw it for himself. It felt suspicious. I'd never been to a love hotel either, so I didn't know, but normally you'd keep the windows shut, right? You wouldn't want people seeing or hearing what you were doing. And then suddenly I heard a sound from somewhere. It was a calming song with a simple melody. A song that may or may not be the song that's currently playing as the background music. I don't know why it sounds like it's glitching out. You can hear it faintly, I think. Yeah, I don't know why that BGM music is doing that. I don't know if it's because I'm recording or whether it's just doing that anyway. I don't know. I took a closer listen. Was it a music box? Well, The only way to find out is to check it out. It definitely was. Apparently, Takuru's hearing is far better than mine. It was coming from the room with the open windows. It sounded like it was inviting us in. What was going on? Who leaves the music box at a scene of a potential crime scene? I looked around. The building across from the open window was another love hotel, but it had no windows on that side, so he isn't going to get a view in that way like he did with the previous case. And by that I mean the previous crime scene, obviously. I couldn't look into the building like I'd done with the karaoke box last week and Takuru just saying what I'd already stated. And I certainly couldn't climb my way up.
ちょっと何考えてるの？
Apparently Kurusu doesn't have Takuru's supersonic hearing. I must have had a pensive look on my face because Kurusu turned to me and asked,
バレないように中に入れれば。
well, she already said her question before that statement, obviously. But Takuru's looking to find a way inside to that third floor without drawing the attention of the police, which is easier said than done. I looked over at the parking meters. There was still only the one car, so the others haven't arrived yet. Okay, but
裏口ぐらいどっかにあるだろうから、応援の警察が来る前に済まそう。伊藤、そっち側から回ってくれ。
yeah, if we loiter around here for too much longer, the reinforcements will show up. We don't want that.
Oh.
And Shinji is actually now looking as pensive as Kurusu was a moment ago.
僕はこっち側から。
ちょっとタクル、こっち見なさい。
I was going to say there's nothing that will stop Takuru now, but Kurusu just went and proved me wrong. At least in this instance. I began to go around the building, not waiting for Ito's answer, but Kurusu grabbed my arm.
ダメ。こんなの部活の範疇じゃないでしょ。私の言うことが聞けないの？
To answer that last question, he probably will listen and then just ignore it. So you know is probably the correct response. Crap. He was just a millimeter short of making that face again.
しかもここ、いかがわしいホテルでしょう。それに、もし妙なことに巻き込まれたらどうするの？
I think we're already caught up in something weird anyway, and it has nothing to do with the Love Hotel. Trust me. I knew all that. But I didn't want to give up. This might be my chance to get a real scoop. And not the kind you sell in a tabloid either.
定額にでもなったらどうするつもり？姉として弟を危険な目に遭わせるわけにはいかないの。
Wait a minute. Kurusu's Takuru's older sister, what?
弟というか、家族でも何でもないじゃんか。僕たちは。
Okay, so they're not blood related. Maybe they're step siblings? A fact that seems to have quite an effect on Kurusu there. Instantly, Kurusu grabbed me by the collar with incredible force and brought her face so close to me that our foreheads touched. Apparently there was something that happened in Takuru and Kurusu's past. I could tell her cheeks were flushed. It was a small wordless growl from deep within her throat, and her arms were shaking a little as she held me. Sorry about that, adventurers. Had to go have some dinner there, but I'm back now, and we're back in the middle of Takuru's conversation with Kurusu. What was he trying to say? No. I knew what she was trying to say. But Kurusu didn't say it. Kurusu wasn't the sort of forceful person who'd bring up the distant past to try and win an argument. What exactly happened between Takuru and Kurusu in their distant past? I suppose that is a mystery that will eventually and inevitably reveal itself. And anyway, that was all over now. It wasn't either of our faults. And evidently Serika has overheard the conversation. Which might be for the best, actually. Although Serika bumping into the back of Kurusu there isn't exactly helping matters. Suddenly Serika ran over and tackled Kurusu. The momentum slammed both of them into the ground.
ちょっとセリカ、何して。
That was a bit uncalled for, even if the conversation was going a bit dark there.
喧嘩はダメだよ、のんちゃん、タク。5人でみんな仲良くが新聞部のモットーでしょ。
And your way of breaking up fights is to spear tackle somebody in the back. Okay, that makes total sense. Also, no, that was never our motto. After all, since when did the paper club of... I always keep butchering this. Hikiko Academy. Yeah, since when did the newspaper club of that academy ever have a motto?
しんちゃんも止めなきゃダメじゃん。
いや、つうかどこ行ってたんだ？
Yeah, this was one thing that even Shinji wasn't going to poke his nose into.
ああ、そうだ。喧嘩してる場合じゃないんだよ、タク。
She suddenly hopped up, like a cheap toy. She might actually spear tackle you if you actually said that out loud.
裏のドア開いてる。
That's awfully convenient. I hesitated to ask, did you actually somehow manage to pick the lock?
Huh?
If so, Serika has literally become the most terrifying thing so far, at least in this episode.
喉乾いて自販機なくてホテルの中ならあるだろうと思って裏のドア見つけて開けて
Why would you go inside the Love Hotel to find a vending machine of all places?
中
Does
入って
that
自販
logic
機やって
make
さすが
sense?
妖精のダンスじゃんやるじゃんって思って買って一気飲みしてたらあれって
Well, good for the fact that there just so happened to be a vending machine inside, but
んだよそれ。
お前いつも後先考えずに突き進むよな。
yeah. Although those words coming from Takuru of all people is kind of a bit hypocritical.
タクどうするの
But Serika has a point. The plan. Plan that has many plans, or however that meme goes. But at least we don't have anyone planning around our plans. At least not yet. But never mind that. We have more important things to do than trying and misquoting internet memes. Kurusu might not like it, but Takuru has already sworn to see this case through to the end. I could tell that Kurusu was glaring at me, but she didn't say anything. She couldn't say anything.
二人で行こう。カップルの方がいざという時にごまかしが効くかもしれない。
A couple who just happen to be high schoolers. Right.
オッケー
But you weren't supposed to agree to that. As soon as the words were out of my mouth, Serika beckoned me to follow her. I did. And she vanished. I didn't say it, but in my heart I apologized to Kurusu as I went. Of course she couldn't hear me, so she didn't say anything.
階段向こうなんだけどな
Well, we've infiltrated the Love Hotel, I guess. We went inside the hotel from the rear entrance and hid behind the corner that led to the lobby. This was my first time inside a Love Hotel, and it was a lot less gaudy than I'd expected. Then again, this is the first floor, so the name was false advertising. There were no fairies, and no one was dancing. Let's hope it stays that way, Takuru. Maybe the quiet atmosphere was a selling point? But
ですから人を早くよこしてください。いやそれは新庄さんに聞いてください。
looks like that police officer is still asking for reinforcements. He's asking for someone by the name of Shinji. That's not good. The quiet was ruined by the sound of a police officer screaming into his phone. Well, by that we can ascertain that something definitely happened at this place. Although we probably might want to get going while the going's good, because If we're not in and out by the time those police reinforcements arrived, we are kind of screwed. He was either confused or just excited because he kept saying the same things over and over again. Something had happened after all. And something bad enough that he needed backup. This was my chance. Better make the most of it, Takuru. If we could get to the scene before the place was overflowing with cops, we might be able to find an unexpected scoop.
はい、それは間違いありません。確認しました。ですがこちらでは判断が。いえ、ですからそういう状態じゃないんです。
So there's something about whatever's here, whether crime scene or not, that the police officer is having trouble dealing with.
くそ。
That cop was in the way. Unfortunate. Whether we took the stairs or the elevator, we needed to go through the lobby to get to them. And he is smack bang in the middle of both of them.
Taku, 行くよ。
え？
早く。
You are awfully too eager for this, Serika, if I'm being honest. Serika took me by the arm, as if we were a couple, and entered the lobby without trying to hide at all. If it were just the manager or the lobby attendant, that would be one thing. But this is a policeman we're dealing with.
おいおい。
This is ungood. She ignored me and walked straight for the stairs.
おい、
Yeah. Did you honestly believe this to work? I didn't think it would work, and of course, it didn't. The cop must have seen us, because he yelled at us from behind. Serika. Well, we're busted. Shit. He probably hadn't seen our faces. Should we run? No, that wouldn't just make us look suspicious. Also, given the fact that we are clearly wearing school uniforms, is also a...
部屋から出るなと言っているだろう。はい、いえ、すいません、大丈夫です。それより早く応援を。
Okay, so he apparently assumed that we were occupants of the hotel. That's, again, awfully convenient. Well, might as well take advantage of his mistake while we can. He started to mumble into the phone. I cannot believe that worked. But that was too close for comfort, not gonna lie. We crossed the lobby without looking back. Heart is racing there.
無茶するなよ。
I think it's a little too late for that, Takuru. We've already gone past the point of crazy.
でもタクの言った通りだったじゃん。ごまかせたごまかせた。
Yeah, but that was not taking into account that we'd actually have to come across the path of an actual police officer instead of one of the hotel staff. I mean, it worked, but that's not really the point. That was a close call, too close. My heart was pounding so loud that the noise was making me sick. Could he not tell that we were high school students, especially judging by the uniforms? Then again, he was in quite the panic, so But then again, when he comes down, he'll probably remember certain details, and we do not have long. No. Even if he only saw us from behind, he'd be able to tell by our uniforms. Why didn't he arrest us? Probably because he was too focused on getting back up. Maybe he was panicking so much the thought never occurred to him. Well, that seems to be the case so far.
ってとはどうしようか。
I think next step is third floor. Serika let go of my arm and turned toward me. That's right. Now wasn't the time for thinking about other things. At least not right now. One other thing that we're going to have to think about is getting out of this hotel alive, but unfortunately we're not in a position to do anything about that just yet.
外から見たあの場所が現場かどうかはわからないけど、とりあえず3階から当たろう。そこが外れだったら他の場所を見ていく。警察の応援が来たらそこで切り上げ。
Yeah, again, question. How do we leave once the police backup shows up?
でも警察の様子から見て、やっぱり何か事件があったんだ。絶対に取って帰ろう。
Well, we can still get photographs.
OK。
It was quiet. And surprisingly, we haven't come across any other people. But then again, the police officer did say that people were supposed to stay to their rooms. So that makes sense. The policeman's voice was still drifting up the stairs, but it only made the quiet seem more oppressive. Just like he'd said, the customers had probably been told not to leave their rooms. So far, so good for us. It was too late for it to matter now, but I was starting to feel a little scared. Come to think of it, if something had happened, maybe the killer was still here.
そういえばタク、まだのんちゃんと喧嘩しちゃってるんだね。
And Serika is still hung up on that. Serika's voice was relaxed. I was grateful. I take any opportunity to relieve this tension.
喧嘩ってわけじゃないよ。
No, maybe it was.
でもまだクルスって呼んでるんでしょ。気持ちはわかるけど、なんとかならないかな。
Until half a year ago, I called her Nono, her first name. After the incident that caused me to leave the dorm, I'd never called her that again. You mean the fact that you skipped school? Or did something else happen? As long as I kept calling her Kurusu, she'd keep being mad at me. It must have been hurting some important part of her.
タク、
Well, I don't think we're going to get any more pertinent details about said incident so far.
Oh.
However, we have more immediate things at hand. The next thing I knew, we were on the third floor. Serika had gotten ahead of me at some point and was poking her head around the corner and into the hallway. Well, at least the door's not locked.
誰もいないみたい。
Nobody outside their rooms.
よし。
I took out my phone and got ready to record. Well, if all the doors are shut, it's going to be hard to figure out which room it is exactly. As soon as I went into the third floor hallway, I found myself holding my breath. My heart was pounding even louder than when the cop had yelled at us. I tried to control myself and look down the corridor. The rooms must have been very big, because the gap between the doors was large. The floor was red, sinking into black as the hallway stretched away. I could hear the unpleasant sound of blowing air. They must have had the air conditioning on. Come to think of it, there is one way that we might be able to tell which room it is. There was no window. Well, there were no windows, and there wasn't a lot of light, so the hallway looked pretty creepy. But there was nothing out of the ordinary about it otherwise. Yet. But still it was strange. The air felt solid. Well, given the fact that air itself is actually particles, and if you understand how solids and liquids work, that's understandable. It felt like someone would jump out from the shadows the second that you let your guard down, or perhaps there were traps scattered everywhere along the floor. For a second the floor seemed to be stained with blood, but I shook that image out of my mind. What was this? Was the fear you feel in the darkness at night? Was it just because there was so little light? That, Takuru, is the feeling known as anxiety. Get used to it. Because that feeling isn't going to be going away anytime soon. Trust me. No, it was worse than that. It felt like someone was watching me and enjoying my unease. Oh dear. For those of you familiar with ChäoS Head, this phenomena might seem eerily similar to you. Although in this case it's not quite the same phenomena for a number of different reasons that I will not mention in this LP, unless I have to. But in any event, this phenomena, which I will cryptically refer to as the gaze, isn't quite the same as the phenomena from 6 years ago. It was like they were peering deep into my heart.
タク
Ominous foreshadowing is what this is called. I almost jumped off the ground with a start. Apparently, whatever phenomena Takuru just experienced, Serika didn't.
どうしたの
Which in this instance can only be described as a good thing. Don't just talk to me like that. You scared the hell out of me.
なんでもない。なんか変じゃないか。
I gestured with my head down the hallway. Serika looked past me into the darkness.
そりゃ暗いからなんか不気味だけど雰囲気作りとかじゃないの
Hate to break it to you, Serika, sorry, but this isn't mood lighting. Was it? Was that all? Was I being too sensitive? In a manner of speaking, you were, but not for the reasons you think. Anyway, on with the mission. I tried flipping the light switch on the wall next to me, but nothing happened. Well, that's par for the course in a fairly sort of run-down building like this. Maybe the bulbs were burnt out, or maybe it wasn't the switch for this hallway at all. Damn it. This wasn't 1407 or something. What is 1407? Well, we're jumping to the tips list to find out. A 2007 American horror movie about a hotel room where all the occupants commit suicide. Based on a work by the master of modern horror, Stephen Queen. I forgot how the science adventure novels just have a play on words concerning certain people. Stephen Queen. Really? That is hilarious, by the way. I turned around. The only person there was Serika. Oh, we actually should be hearing the quote-unquote music box. We're not hearing it right now. No one else was looking at me. For now, Takuru. For now. I took some time to make sure of it before I spoke.
Ikuzo.
We have no time to waste. Serika nodded cheerfully and stayed behind me as we walked deeper into the hallway. I remembered the location of the window I'd seen outside. Well, at least Takuru has a good memory. It was probably deeper in the hall, the furthest one back, or the one before it.
あの二つのどちらかかな。
Well, we have two choices. 50-50 odds. I walked as silently as I could down the long hallway, toward the last rooms on the left side. With every step I took, I could feel the sensation of the hallway floor through the bottom of my heels. It was like I was being forced to think about nerves that I had never used. My body felt very tense. I didn't see any cops in the hallway. Yeah, that police officer was the only one here, on the scene. Usually they'd at least leave one person here at the scene. Was this the wrong floor? Unfortunately, we don't have time to ponder that possibility. We reached the second to last door. Room 306, as you can clearly see on the number plate there. Well, we made it this far, Takuru. Now to cross the threshold. But as Morpheus said to Neo in the Matrix, I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to step through it. It's all on you, I'm afraid. I listened carefully, but didn't hear anything revealing. And yet again, we are introduced to our lovely companion throughout this Let's Play, the Delusion Trigger. We had a negative delusion last time with Kazuki, so we're gonna go positive this time. I will do another reality segment at some point, maybe at the next Delusion Trigger. Just the quiet rumble of the air conditioner.
覗き穴とかないの？
Unless you count the door lock, I don't think there is. Come on.
ここはラブホテルだぞ。
That's stating the obvious there.
ああ、そっか。
おい、何を。
ノック。
Why would you knock on the door at a potential crime scene or at a love hotel? Serika, you are strange.
お前な。
Well, it's too late now, because Serika's actions have triggered the trigger. And suddenly the door opened. We didn't expect anyone to open it, so both Serika and I froze. And then they came out.
あら、坊やたちが次のお客さんかしら。
Almost gave us a heart attack there. It was a voluptuous woman with long hair, and she was completely naked. And not only that, her body was as nice as any you'd see in a magazine. Wait, didn't she look like a lot like a model or an actress I saw on TV?
タク、見ちゃダメ。
かわいいお客さんね。入って。
あ、いえ。
そういうんじゃないんで。
いいのよ。お嬢さんも一緒でも。
In other words, what exactly? What indeed?
すっごく気持ちよくさせてあげる。だから、おいで。
タク、どうしよう。
お前、なんでちょっと入る気になってるんだ。
だって。
Serika's face was red with embarrassment. She whispered softly.
気持ちよくなりたいし。
そんな状況じゃないだろ。
Indeed, but on that subject, I'm probably glad that I didn't pick the negative delusion trigger there. Over the fact that things might actually be much worse than what we're about to go through in reality. Something was wrong with me.
そんな状況って？
And apparently she heard that. Then again, you did just say that aloud. Damn it. I said what I was thinking out loud.
いや、なんでもない。
Serika was still knocking on the door to room 306, but no one was answering.
警察もいないし、この階じゃないのかもな。
No police and no occupants either. What was that noise? I flinched back at the sudden noise. Well, there's something down the hallway. Was that the sound of breaking glass?
隣からだったよな。
She was clinging to my back in surprise, with her hands on my shoulders.
多分奥でしょ。
So we were about to go into the wrong room after all. Good to know. Serika pointed to the next room. We stood there for a moment. The violent sound must have scared her because Serika's easygoing mood had totally vanished. But I wonder, was that sound accidental or deliberate? Plot thickens. But we waited a while and nothing more happened. There were no voices or sounds of struggle. The hallway was the same as ever. But was I imagining it? Or was the hall a little darker than before? Maybe the lighting is burning out.
戻った方がいいか。
Probably a little too late for that now. Serika didn't answer my question. She didn't seem afraid, but she had a serious look on her face as she stared down the hallway. Well, we came here to find out whether or not this hotel is the third crime scene. Maybe something had happened and the killer was still there. No, wait. I need to think about this rationally. There was an officer on the first floor who had called up for backup. Usually when a call came in, the police never came there alone. There was always more than one. So why is there only a lone officer here? I found that out for myself during my reporting, so I was sure of it. So there had to be another officer at the scene. The killer couldn't just be hiding there. If there was any chance of that, the cop wouldn't have just told us to go back to our rooms. Did the killer break the glass during a struggle? No, that didn't make any sense either. If there was any chance of them being able to do that, wouldn't that officer have gone downstairs? Probably gone down there to tell the front desk not to let anyone else in. You would think so. I had no proof, either way. But it should be okay. More than anything, I hadn't taken any photos yet. And there was another noise. I jumped, literally, when I heard the sudden sound. It was a very strange sound, one that didn't belong here at all. I looked and saw that Serika had gotten so nervous she had taken out her Gero rose strap and started to play with it. She probably didn't even know she was doing it. I softly poked her with my elbow. I motioned for her to keep quiet, and she seemed confused. But then she realized what she was doing and quickly put the strap back in her pocket. As soon as she was done, I looked down the hall once more. All the way to the front of the room. We should head there. I tried to steel myself, then checked over my shoulder once more to make sure that no one was there. I started to walk forward, very carefully. If there is a creak in the floor, we are in serious trouble. I was afraid of making even the slightest sound. Serika followed me wordlessly with her hand on my shoulder. I grabbed her hand with my free hand. The other was holding my smartphone. Moment of truth. She squeezed it tight. The feeling of her fingers kept me strong as I walked forward. The next room. Room 305. The room at the far end of the hallway. Just like room 306, it had a plain old door, but it felt like it was exuding an intense pressure.
ここからだよね。
I'm pretty sure of that, Serika. She was asking about the sound.
多分
I answered, despite not having any proof at all. We waited, but still heard nothing. I looked around once more to make sure no one was there, then put my ear up against the door. And then I heard a small sound. It was the sound I'd heard outside, the sound from the windows, like a music box playing. Well, at least we've found our room. It wasn't room 306, it was room 305. Well, again, 50-50 odds. At the very least, we found the right room. For now, at least. But that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Child. And when we return, adventurers, we shall see what is on the other side of the door of room 305. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.